Hey guys, welcome back to Horticulture Geek. I thought I'd bring you along today as I refresh a couple of containers for the summer. Let's go. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining me today here on Horticulture Geek. I'm Ray, and today, like I said, I'm going to be doing a switch out of containers. We are actually at my church right now, and I've got these two containers that I manage at the back entranceway of our worship center and welcome center area. This is a program that we do here at our church where different church members can adopt planters or flower beds or stuff like that to help keep the property looking nice. And these two pots right here at the main entrance of our welcome center and the back entrance of our worship center are the ones that I adopt. Let me turn the camera around and we'll go over there and look at what they look like right now, because they look pretty rough. I kind of let them go. All right, so here are the pots up close, and as you can see, excuse me, they are looking a bit rough. So for the winter, I had ornamental kales and pansies in here. And then this is a rose bush right here, a shrub rose that stays in full time. And as you can also tell, I forgot to prune him in February. As you know, or you may not know, February, right around Valentine's Day, is your mark for pruning roses. That's the goal that you want to kind of work towards. And I did not do that on this rose. So I will be doing, in addition to taking out the cabbages that are left, and there's some like desiccated pansy root balls in there. We'll get all that cleaned out. I will do a little light pruning on this rose just to clean it up as well. Now, this soil has been in these containers for quite a while. So I'm going to 100% empty out this container, and we're going to start fresh with new soil. I'm also going to kind of work some of the dirt out from around this rose bush and get as much fresh new soil in there as possible. And now here's what I have to work with. So I've got my fresh potting soil, I've got some rose tone, I've got some regular fertilizer, gloves, pruners, a little shovel, and then I've got calibrachoas. So my purple and orange calibrachoas will ring the rose. And then I cheated and I just went with an insert fill basket. And it's got a Dracaena spike, some calibrachoas, some regular petunias, and some verbena. And that will fill the small pot right there. Okay, so now you kind of have a rundown of what I'm working with and what I'm going to be doing. I'm actually going to kind of get myself set up here and just let the camera roll and get this project done. So here we go. All right, so I've moved inside the church for just a hot minute because I needed to come over here and make some water-soluble fertilizer up. And it was raining so hard out there, it was hard to hear. So what you saw me do is you saw me empty those pots completely and get them all cleaned up and ready to go. Now, it is important, I do want to say, if you are a beginner gardener and are just trying to figure out how to do things, it is important that you switch out your potting soil in your containers as much as is possible to give your plants some actual nutrients to grow in. Because you have to remember that we're creating a little growing space that's not natural, right? Like in the earth, in the ground, there are microorganisms, there are worms, there's minerals, and there's all things constantly working through the soil. And when it rains, it stirs all those things up. But when we're working in a container, all a container has is what we give it, what we put in it. And the plants that you put in those containers will quickly burn through all of those nutrients and organisms and things that they need to survive and thrive. So that's why it's important to, as much as you can, switch out your soil for fresh potting soil once a year at least. Now, as you saw on that one pot for me, that little one, it was super easy. I literally just tipped the bucket over, poured it all out, because there was nothing in that container I wanted to save. That soil was a year old. It had held all the plants from last summer. It had held the plants from the fall, and then it had held the plants for the winter. So that soil was done, was ready to go. Now, the rose bush pot was a different story. So I had a perennial plant in there, a rose bush that comes back year after year. So I couldn't just pour it out and throw it away. I would have messed up the rose bush too much. But hopefully what you saw me do was dig in there around that pot, and I really worked my way down as much as I could until I really got into some fibrous roots of that rose plant. And got as much of that old potting soil out as well. And then I put in a good dose of rose tone fertilizer for that rose that will just kick it into high gear, and it will really feed that plant. And then I put fresh potting soil in on top of that. And then you saw me put the new plants in the pot. And then you have to fill those plants in with good potting soil. So then you saw me come back and work soil around each root ball to make sure that each plant was in the container, nice and firm, and was fully surrounded by good, fresh, new soil. And then through the magic of YouTube, I've already cleaned up out there. I got the hose pipe out and I hosed down the area, cleaned up all the spillage, all the debris, all the cuttings. And so now I'm just ready to give those plants a good water in. And like I mentioned, I am using a water-soluble fertilizer here. Two things. One, when you water your fresh planting in a container, you always want to water it in so that you settle the root ball. You've got all that nice fluffy soil, and the chances of you having air pockets in there is extremely high. And you don't really want huge air pockets in there. Think about a cave in the earth. There's nothing is really going to be beneficial to your plants about a big pocket of air somewhere in your soil. So you really want to settle that root ball in good. And so a good liberal drink of water to get that soil nice and hydrated and heavy so that it sinks down and really firms in your plants is number one. You want to do that. And then in this situation, I'm giving them water-soluble fertilizer because all of those plants are already well-established plants. A grower has been working on those for quite a while. They've been shipped to a garden center. They were at the garden center for I don't know how long until I picked them up. My guess is they were probably over there for at least a week until I picked them up. So with our spring and summer annuals like that, they are heavy feeders. You want to give them food but to get them really performing and blooming for you. Anything that blooms like that needs the food. So knowing that these are plants that have been growing for a while that I just bought, they're new to me, but they're not baby plants. I need to feed them So that's twofold right there. So I've got to feed them to make sure they are continuing to thrive, and I got to settle in that root ball. So don't forget that step when you're doing your summer plantings. All right, let me get out here and water these in. All right, guys, so that's gonna wrap up this project for me today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Maybe it has inspired you or taught you a little something. But like I said, it's what I was working on today on this gross, yucky, rainy day. It is Saturday, the day before Easter, so I needed to get those fixed up before everybody showed up for Easter Sunday. So I didn't want the pots to look hanky-janky because, you know, a lot of people show up to church on Easter Sunday, and you want it to look the best as it can. So again, I just hope you've enjoyed coming along with me for this quick project. Maybe you can use it as a guide when you're working on containers at your home or your garden. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave those in the comment section down below this video. I would love for you to leave me a comment, ask a question, and I'll do my best to answer any questions that you guys may have. I may not always have the answer, but I'll certainly give it a good old try. I hope you've enjoyed this video one last time, but until next time, and there will be a next time, so stay tuned for more videos coming out. It's spring. I've got lots of content, things that are going on that I need to work on, so I'll be dragging this camera around with me. But until then, from my garden to yours, I wish you all the best and happy gardening.